Hello, everybody. My name is Katie, and I am hosting an interview with Ian through my Greenland Quilter channel. So I would like to introduce Ian, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much for having me. I am Ian. I'm known as the Off Kilter Crafter Ian on Instagram and YouTube. I am a male quilter, which is kind of unusual, but I love it. And I have been quilting for a while now and just exploring what all quilting and sewing has to offer on YouTube, and also doing tutorial videos and other fun projects on my YouTube channel as well.
Can you tell me who influenced you to learn to sew?
Yeah, so I had a quilt that my aunt gave me in middle school. She gave me a Harry Potter themed quilt when I was in middle school, and I absolutely loved it. I literally slept with it on my bed every single night because I loved it so much. And in college, it literally, I loved it so much, it started to disintegrate on me.
Oh boy.
So I asked her if she would make me another one, and she said no, but we'll make one together. So we ended up designing and creating a very large quilt. It was like 106 inches long, if I remember correctly, and like 90 something inches wide. I actually use it on my bed every night. Even in summertime, I use that one as well as any others, especially in winter. I pile them on top, but that's a different story. But yeah, she kind of inspired me to get into quilting and learn like the whole world of quilting. And so I kind of started dabbling in it a little bit more. And a coworker that I had was a part of a guild here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And she said that I should check out a guild and get introduced to the guild and kind of learn from them a little bit. And so I messaged my local guild, my local modern quilt guild, and asked them about attending. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't even sure as a male quilter if they would accept me to be a part of their guild. I just didn't know what the quote unquote rules of being a part of a guild was. And so I
Mhm.
messaged them asking if I could join, and they were thrilled that I was interested, and showed up at my first meeting, and everybody welcomed me with open arms and were so excited that I was at the very least interested in attending their guild. And so I stuck around a little bit, and on my second meeting, I got to meet Libs Elliott, which was like, I had never heard of her before. I didn't know who she was. I was completely like going in blind on it, but everybody was making a big deal about it. And after I heard her give her lecture and do a trunk show and all that kind of stuff, I was pleasantly surprised that there are, because she does her designs using code, and I'm very STEM and STEAM focused. So science, technology, engineering, art, and math. I'm very STEAM focused. And when she brought out that she used code to create her quilt designs, I was like, that is something that I can get behind. And it sparked this amazing passion of mine getting into the quilting world.
um, when did you begin to piece quilts, and how old were you when you finished your very first quilt?
Ooh, so I have always sewn, off and on. So my mom, when I was young, she would make clothes. She sewed all kinds of different things, not professionally
Yeah.
or even as a hobby. She would just kind of, when she needed something, she would bring out the sewing machine. And as a kid, I always have a fascination with machines, so I needed to know what it was, what it did, how it worked, all the things that a kid asks about. And so when I saw her using the sewing machine as a kid, I was like, I want to do that. That looks like fun. Let me try. And so she would teach me how to use the sewing machine and how to, create little pillows for my beanie babies and stuffed animals. And, we made clothes for my stuffed animals and all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of died down a little bit. And then she would bring it out for another reason, and I would get interested in it again, and then kind of set it back down. And it was that cycle over and over again as I grew up. And I didn't actually get super involved with quilting until I was out of college. I don't remember exactly. I think it's been 5, 6, 7 years from ago that I was super interested in quilting because of my aunt wanting to, have us work together on a quilt. My first quilt, technically the first quilt I finished was the one with her. But my first true kind of like, I say independent, I had a lot of help from some of my guild members who helped me work on a couple of different quilts. But I think I don't remember when I finished those. I know it was pre-COVID. It seems like we're kind of like pre-COVID and post-COVID now,
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean.
it was pre-COVID by a few years. I want to say like 2016, 2017, maybe. I don't remember exactly,
Hmm.
but a little bit ago.
What are your favorite styles of fabric? I already know one of them.
Absolutely. My favorite is Tula Pink. At least one of my favorites is Tula
Yep.
Pink. I love Tula Pink because of the bright colors, the kind of kooky designs sometimes. Some of her
Hmm.
designs are really kind of out there and outlandish, and I love that. I love bright, saturated colors. I love very bright pieces. I was walking up and down a quilt show yesterday, and I found myself drawn to the bright colors, the saturated colors, and just stuff that really, really catches your eye. I do have appreciation for the like monochromatic, there we go, had to think of the word for a second, like the monochromatic, the more muted colors and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I do appreciate those, and I absolutely love that people, there's some people that hone in on those and that is their jam, and I
Yep.
love that for them. But for me, I love the bright color. I mean, you see the quilt behind me.
Yep.
I love those bright colors. I love being able to kind of hit you in the face with those colors. And, some people don't like that. And I totally respect that and understand that. But a lot of times I find when I look through the quilts that I've worked on or quilts that I am passionate about, I see the bright colors, the funky patterns, the funky shapes, the very non-traditional, and I think that's why I really define myself as a modern quilter, is because I like that asymmetry, the bright. How many times have I said bright colors? If people are playing a drinking game with this, please do not use bright colors as the word. But yeah, like the asymmetry, although I'm not good with it because I like symmetry and I'm drawn to symmetry and I end up going to symmetry naturally. That's kind of what I'm attracted to. I do love seeing quilts that are asymmetrical, and I'm trying to push myself in that direction of
Yeah.
asymmetry and stuff like that. So I think that's bright colors, asymmetry, non-traditional, uh, just kind of loud and in your face. I feel like
Yeah, it's
that's
kind of
kind
like
of,
the one behind me. That one's in
yep.
your face.
Yep, it is. It is absolutely. And I actually have a couple designs that I'm working right now that the pattern, I work really well with patterns. I haven't dabbled in designing my own patterns yet. That's something that I want to tackle in the future and kind of explore. But one of the designs that I have a pattern for, I really want to take that pattern and kind of make it my own. And I have some very ambitious ideas, I will say, with Tula Pink's neons. I have a really cool idea that I think is going to work out, but I got to take that time to figure out if it actually will or not.
Yeah. I'll be looking forward to seeing what you do with that.
You and me
Uh,
both.
yep. Do you have a favorite designer?
Tula Pink. I also love Juicy Juice. Juicy Juice is great. And I have mad respect for him because of his design work, but also, again, he's a male quilter in a female dominated industry. So he's one of the few out there that I like. Mad props to him for like really making a name for himself. And I want to be like him when I grow up, if you will. So Juicy Juice is out there. I also love Crimson Tate. She create and Crimson Tate isn't actually her name, that's the store name, but she
Right.
uses that as her kind of what is it, pen
Company
name.
name,
Well,
pen name,
yeah.
designer
um
name.
So Heather is the one that actually designs the fabric, and I love her designs. They are very up my alley. Again, some bright colors and stuff like that, but also some like fun imagery is included in her designs. So anytime she puts out a new fabric line, I'm right there with it. Let's see, who else do I have? Allison Glass. I like Allison Glass. Again, bright colors. Surprise. I know, it's shocking. And let's see, is there anybody else that I'm literally looking around the room to see if there are any other fabrics that I'm forgetting, but those are the main ones. Every now and again, I'll find another pattern or design that's like a one-off from a designer that I'll just like hone in and pick up on, and I love it. But those are kind of my main ones to go to.
Since the quilting world is mostly women, have you found it easy to become a part of this vast industry, or no?
For the most part, I think it's been really easy for me to kind of enter into this industry and world. I am a part of a Facebook group for male quilters, and there are shared stories of men going into quilt stores and getting the "Can I help you?" Like, what are you doing
Yeah,
here? Why are you here? Or, oh, your wife, she must have sent you, how can I, what does she need? We can get it for you. And I've experienced that very little. I've only had it happen like once or twice where somebody was like, can I help you? But once I kind of explained that I'm a quilter too and everything like that, everybody's been really helpful, and my quilt stores know me by name, and it gets a little scary when they know you by name and
yeah,
spend a little too much money at them, but that's okay. But I love them, and they are so like, they ask me what my next project is, they ask me what I'm buying the fabric for, they are super interested. And I haven't had very many experiences. I do get the occasional like glance from other shop goers who look at me and are kind of like, what is happening here? But
yeah,
thankfully, I've never had any experiences like some of the worst case experiences that
yeah.
some of the guys post about. Everybody's really accepting, and I even at the quilt show yesterday, I was sitting in the room with everybody else waiting for the quilts to be ready to pick up, and the lady, she was a chair over from me, and we're all sitting there playing on our phones, and she leans over and she's like, "Hey, you're picking up a quilt. Did you put a quilt in the show?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure did." And she's, asked about which quilt it was and commented that it's great to see male quilters being a part of this community and putting forth their work, because I feel like it's so important for male quilters to be a part and not feel ostracized by the
Yeah.
community.
It's
And
helping to make things more diverse, and
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. There are some wonderful diverse pieces from every background, and I think it's so important to have every background
yeah,
represented.
that's
Um,
right.
every nationality, every designer, like we need to incorporate all that diversity, because our planet is so diverse, and there's so many
Hmm.
different cultures and aspects and viewpoints and everything, and it's so important to have those represented.
That's exactly right. Um, do you have a future project that you really want to pour yourself into?
There, there's probably like 25 billion of different projects
That's a
that
loaded question, right?
it really is. It really, really is. I can think of at least 5 different projects that I'm either currently working on, want to work on, have in mind. My closet literally is full of fabric that I want to work with and want to work on, but either haven't had time or haven't found the inspiration that I need to design with it. I have a whole fabric line that I absolutely wanted and needed to have, and I haven't even cut into it or unpackaged it really. I've been wanting to find the perfect project to use it for, and I just haven't found it yet. So
I have
uh
that same problem. I have
yeah,
been building quite a big boutique stash
yeah,
because I have in my head, you've seen the mandala that I crocheted, and that had
yep,
32 colors in it. I want to do a quilt with 100 colors of batiks.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that
you
is an
know,
undertaking.
yeah, I mean, make it queen
Yeah,
size, but it can be done, but I don't know what pattern or anything, but
yeah,
so I can relate to
absolutely.
your dilemma on what to make.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the biggest dilemmas, and I've had a project that I've wanted to work on. I've had the pattern. I just recently pulled out the pattern again. I'm like, I need to work on this one. And I started digging through my stash and I was like, oh, I have lots of this fabric and I feel like this would be a perfect fabric to use for that project. So I'm starting to piece all the things together, but it just, it takes time and effort.
Yeah,
And I do have a daytime job. So I don't get to spend as much time as I want to, quilt and work and spend my time on my hobby because I have to do my daytime job and I need to be responsible about that. So
yeah,
I don't get all the time that I want to, but with the time that I do get, I try to make the most of it.
yeah. Do you have any other hobbies that you participate in since we're talking about that?
So I mostly manage my YouTube channel and I do a lot of sewing and not just quilting though. I also do other sewing projects as well. A lot of what I do, I I film it or record it or do a live stream with it. So a lot of what you're seeing me work on is stuff that is going to end up on my channel or is on my channel or whatever. I don't really have any other crafting hobbies that I work on. I mostly, do the standard like watch TV, watch movies, stuff like that. In fact, my living room is
Your
not set up as
sewing
a
room?
living room. It is actually my craft room because I don't even have a couch. There's no couch behind me. I sit at my table and usually sew while I'm watching TV or movies or something like that. So I don't really have any other hobbies. I used to do paper crafting. I got real into using the Cricut and doing greeting cards, and I have a million inks and a million stamps and a million of all of those supplies. But I kind of feel like I've lost my interest in my mojo for it. It just
Hmm.
doesn't
It's on the back burner now.
yeah, it doesn't fulfill me as much as creating with fabric and sewing because I feel like the reason I feel that way is kind of because with paper crafting and making cards, you can make a card a million different ways. Like you can stamp it in a different way, you can ink it in a different way. Like there's so many different things, but in the end, a greeting card is a greeting card, and though you put your time and effort into it and send it to somebody and they're hopefully very appreciative of it, it's the same kind of product over and over again.
Yeah.
With sewing, I feel like there's so many different alleys to go down. You can create clothing, you can create quilts, you can create household items, you can create a million different things and they're all different.
Right.
um, and so sewing has kind of grabbed my interest for now, and I'm hoping it'll stay that way because I spent a lot of money on my sewing machine and sewing tools. So I don't,
Yeah, you need to stick to that.
yeah,
Um, I,
I really want to stick to it for a long time, and I hopefully will.
I noticed you have a pinch on for bags and cards. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I have. I actually just made one yesterday.
Oh, that one's cool.
Yeah, I for the first time I downloaded a pattern to make a zippered pouch in the hoop. So I have a sewing machine, but it has an embroidery unit on it, and I've never done quilting in the hoop or creating anything in the hoop. So I was very intrigued by the idea for this, and so I jumped on it and was like, this is such a fun way to create a bag for it's still takes a little bit of time to do, but it kind of made the process a lot easier because I'm not having to fumble around, and I don't know, it just was a fun process that I worked on for that. But I love making bags. There's something that is challenging and I like to stretch my creativity and also my skill level, and so I find myself wanting to create something that is very complex and just diving in and working with it. So I love to work on bags and create bags, and though I have not made very many, I feel like what I've done has been pretty successful so far. My cards, there are lots of card videos on my YouTube channel. That's why my channel was started, is because I was doing paper crafting and cards. And for about a year, I kind of stopped doing YouTube videos on that, and I haven't really picked it back up.
Well,
But
I'm referring to you making sewing postcards.
oh, those. Oh, sorry, I apologize.
No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
so I love making postcards. They are so much fun. Because they're great for scraps. They're absolutely great for scraps. But also they are a great way. I guess it kind of relates back to the need and want for me to create a physical object that I can send to a friend for their
Yep.
birthday, holidays, stuff like that. So I feel like that kind of fits into what I wanted to achieve with creating greeting cards, and it still kind of carries it on. So maybe in a way I've kind of morphed from that paper crafting into
Yeah.
a postcard.
You need to send me one because nobody's ever sent me one.
Well, I will make sure to do that.
I want to slide over into the subject of CottonCuts for a few minutes.
Sure.
You're an ambassador for CottonCuts for a puzzle mystery quilt. Can you tell me first off when you did your first one and how many you've done since that first one? You want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. I literally have a list of all the puzzle mystery quilts and like what colorway I did and theme and all that kind of stuff. My first one was back in 2019. It was the fall 2019, and it was the Cosmo. I was Team Catherine. I wrote that down because I knew I was going to forget. But I've done one ever since fall of 2019. And it has been a wonderful journey. CottonCuts has been an amazing company to work with, and I love that they let me do the video tutorials for their quilts. I switched over to the large size, excuse me, about spring 2022 for the So Sweet puzzle mystery quilt. That's when they switched me over from working on the small quilts to the large quilts. And it has been just an amazing journey to work with that. I honestly love that I don't know what it's going to look like until the
Yeah.
very end, because man, I tried it on Piazza. I tried to piece together the pieces to see what they looked like when they were all, and I couldn't do it. I thought,
I
oh,
know, I tried to.
it looks so easy, and after you do enough of them, you start to pick up on
Yeah.
what pieces are going to go where, and I was overzealous with my estimation of it, and it just wasn't. I couldn't do it. So I love that you just don't know what it's going to look like until the very end,
Yeah.
until you get that clue 10. You don't know what it's going to look like. And I love that everything's pre-cut, because I have
Yeah.
too many scraps already. I
Yeah.
don't need any more scraps from another project. So I love that everything's pre-cut, and CottonCuts has just been an amazing partner to work with. And I cannot wait to see what they're going to be doing in the future. We just started with a Carnival. Sorry, I almost said Village Green. We just started with Carnival, and already I'm like, how is this all going to come together?
I
And
know, it's crazy right
it
now.
is. It
And
really,
I don't
really
know
is.
if you've been paying attention, but this is the first time I've seen so many posting pictures of their first clue. It's
Yeah, same.
outstanding to see this.
Yeah, there's so many people engaged with it, and so many people are posting their clues and how they're doing and their progress, and it's amazing to see everybody just doing such an amazing job. And I love the variety that all the quilts give, because each colorway will highlight different things in that
Hmm.
design. And so getting to see what pieces are getting highlighted in one quilt and what pieces are getting highlighted in another quilt, and how they're the same exact pattern, but yet when you put them together, or
They're different.
they're so different. Each one has
Yeah,
such a feel to it.
exactly. And then you look at some of them and you're like, oh, I wish I'd have done that one. That one
Yeah.
looks better than mine.
I've been really happy with the puzzle mystery quilts because a lot of times CottonCuts, will ask us for a top 3 picks for which colorway we want to work on. And thankfully, most of the time, none of the ambassadors are fighting for the same colorway usually.
Right.
So normally I get, whichever colorway is my first pick. And I have not been disappointed with any of them. They are just amazing how they come out. And I think Piazza, I said it when I was a part of the live reveal, but Piazza so far has been my absolute favorite. It just, the way that they put the colors together and the way they put the design together, it's chef's kiss.
Yes, it is. Um, do you remember who told you about CottonCuts or how you stumbled upon CottonCuts?
If I remember correctly, it was one of my guild members. She was talking about this puzzle mystery quilt, and you didn't know what it looked like, and they send you the pieces already cut. And I was very excited, and I could only afford to do the small quilt, but I was super excited to do it, and especially because that was Cosmos, so it was like space themed. And I'm a huge space nerd and love anything space related. And so and also they were doing Juicy Juices fabric, and I was all in for that. So
Okay.
when she kind of told us about it, I was like, oh, I want to get a part of that. So I jumped in and ordered the small quilt and started, putting the pieces together. And since I had the YouTube channel, I was going live and putting the pieces on my YouTube channel, just hanging out. I didn't have a very large subscriber base. I still don't have a huge subscriber base right now, but it's more now than what I had back then. So literally, I think like maybe 5 people would come on live with me and chat and whatnot. But I'd sit there and work on quilting or sewing them together, I should say. And Kim reached out to me and she said, hey, I see you've been doing these lives. I have a proposition for you. What if we sent you a quilt and you put it together and did the tutorials for it? And I was like, heck yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
Yep.
And so that's kind of how I got started as an ambassador.
So would you like to tell everybody which carnival you're doing?
Yeah, I'm working on Petting Zoo in large, because of course it's Tula Pink fabric, so had to go with
Of
the
course.
Tula Pink colorway. And a lot of times I do Tula Pink, as you can see from my So Sweet, that is Tula Pink fabric as well. But there have been a couple of ones that I've done a different or unexpected colorway for me. So Village Green, I'm working on Aster, which is art gallery fabric. And so there's been a few times that I've done something different or outside the norm, but for the most part, I stick with, usually Tula Pink or Juicy Juice or somebody like that.
I actually have a PMQ unfinished one over there. It is Tula Pink.
Oh,
It
which
was
one?
from Spring 2020, Name of the Rose.
Oh,
Team
yeah.
Whimsy.
That one was a good one.
That's
I
the
like
one
that.
with the bananas and everything in it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
and during that time, I really didn't know all that much about Tula Pink.
Yeah.
I was still fairly new. I mean, I started my first PMQ in 20. No, wait, hang on a second. I started with Stratford, so that was spring 2019.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, now I want to talk a little bit about you've been entering quilts into quilt shows.
Yep.
I want to talk about that and how you decided to do that, but I also want to talk about this a touchy subject, the censorship of quilts. You want to talk about that too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started entering. What really kicked it off was when I first started going to my guild. They were actually, there's a quilt show called the North Texas Quilt Festival, and a whole bunch of guilds, I think it's like 6 or 8 guilds, come together to put on one show. And my guild is a part of that show, and we of course want to represent as many quilts as we can get into the show as possible. And so there was a call out for quilts, and I had created a quilt using my Cricut. I cut all the fabric on the Cricut, and it was okay. It was my first quilt, and it's a mini quilt. It's not a full-size quilt. It's a mini quilt. And it was okay. It had some raw edges exposed, and there were some problems with it, but I entered that one. And then I was exploring quilting using conductive thread. So thread that conducts electricity in it, very small amounts of electricity. And I used a computer board to control it so that when people touched 2 points on the quilt, they could actually play music with it.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it was a
Oh, that sounds like
really,
fun.
it, it really was. It was a cool design, in my opinion. I'm a little biased, but I feel like it was a cool design. And I wanted people to interact, because a lot of times quilts are, you do not touch them,
Yeah.
look at them, but you do not touch them. And I wanted something that was touchable and interactive and all that kind of stuff. And so I really wanted to blow the quilting world kind of blow everybody's minds. And so I entered that quilt. That was the whole reason that I entered the show, pretty much, was because I
Oh,
wanted to show off
interesting.
that quilt and get people thinking about conductive thread. What can you do? Like all this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, the judges didn't quite understand what it was. First of all, it wasn't
Oh,
working, like, because it was hanging up on the wall. I couldn't have the electricity to it, and I couldn't,
yeah,
it did all the things that it needed to have to work. So unfortunately, that was a hindrance of it. But it's kind of funny because the judges actually rated that quilt much higher than the just kind of standard mini quilt that I
yeah,
entered. But I remember a specific comment on, because we got comments back on our quilts, and I remember a specific comment on that quilt that basically the judge was like, such a unique embellishment added to the lower right corner, which was the computer board that
yeah,
controlled everything. And it kind of made me laugh because I know for sure that they had no idea what they were looking at
yeah,
themselves. But
yeah,
sometimes they're just judges out there that, they just, it feels like they critique to critique,
yeah,
and no, in my opinion, justification for it. But I feel that a lot of times judges are trying to help you and are trying to
yeah,
hone in on those little things that may help, the next time. So I
yeah,
do tend to get some good information, even if it's, something as simple as, oh, your points didn't line up. Fair.
yeah.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, we didn't get any feedback from the virtual one that we all participated in. Nothing.
Right.
So we
Right.
didn't know what was wrong with them that they didn't like it.
Well, and there may not be anything wrong. That's the thing, is there may not be
Yeah,
anything wrong. It just may be what catches the judge's eye that
yeah,
time.
yeah. You want to talk about the bit of censorship you've been experiencing?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So, for those who don't know, if you check out my Instagram, I created a 4-letter word that is paper pieced using some banana fabric from Tula Pink. And there's a Gwen Stefani song, which I'm not going to say any of the lyrics here because I do not want to get your channel demonetized. But I'm pretty sure you can figure out bananas in a 4-letter word. I think you can figure it out.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
yeah, so I've entered that show, or I've entered that quilt. It's a mini quilt. It's about 14 inches by 14 inches. I've entered it into 4 shows so far. One of the shows accepted it, but the other 3 shows did not. Again, I totally understand that some shows do not want to have that displayed. It is a 4-letter word. It is somewhat taboo in our culture here. So I totally understand that they want to make it, family friendly, people to laugh. I wanted people to smile. And I got to see that when I had that quilt in one of the shows. I literally was across the room and looked over because somebody was about to walk in front of that quilt, and it was 2 people that were standing there, and all of a sudden I'm looking at them from behind, so I can't read their lips, I can't
Right.
see facial expressions, but out of nowhere I see one of the heads just like start bobbing, and she does this, and I just smiled. I just got a big smile on my face, and I couldn't help it, but I like walked up to them and I was like, so I couldn't help notice you were dancing there. And she was so embarrassed. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so, and I'm like, no, I made this quilt. This brings me so much joy that you're standing in front of it, like bobbing your head, dancing around. She's like, well, my friend has never heard the song before. So I was sitting here singing it. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
So it worked because I wanted to bring that fun, that joy, that smile, that giggle, I wanted to bring that to people. And I feel like my quilt was very successful in that.
Yeah. That's a big reward all by itself right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you have anything else you want to tell us about that we haven't really touched on?
Oh, I
You the
can't.
person, you the quilter or anything like that?
Well, I am working on a million different projects. I can
Yeah,
never
aren't
say,
we all?
yeah, it's like everybody else. I have a million projects. I'm drowning in scraps. I love to learn. I love to find out. I love to know how it works, when it works, why it works, all the who, what, when, where, why questions. I have to know everything. I have an insatiable appetite for knowledge. And I think that's what has made me as successful of a quilter and crafter, is because I like to find out and learn and understand. And so I take all those very seriously. whenever I'm working, if something doesn't work, I like to understand why,
Yeah.
I'm also a huge space buff. I did talk about that a little bit. Space nerd,
Yep.
I think is what I referred to it as, but I'm a huge space nerd. Love astronomy, love
So I
space.
bet you're all in heaven watching the big space telescope going through space, taking those beautiful pictures.
Oh my gosh, it has
I
been
I've been
absolutely,
following it.
yeah, those are some absolutely
I
incredible
know.
dots that it's coming out
It's
with.
like I want
And
to make a quilt that looks like one of them, you know?
oh, I have so many ideas of quilts that I can do with some of the pictures that are coming out from it.
Yeah,
And
they're
you know,
outstanding.
it's really been interesting watching the Hubble, because we had the Hubble images first,
Yeah,
and the name of it is escaping me at this very second.
James Webb.
Thank you, James Webb. Watching the same images that I saw as a kid come
Yeah,
out now as an adult with twice, three times, 500 times the resolution is what I
yeah.
had. The
There's been
space
some
telescope.
YouTube videos where they've been comparing the two
Yeah,
telescopes, and it's amazing
it
how
really is.
different they are, you know,
They
and
are
the people who
incredibly.
created this new telescope knew what they were doing
Yeah, yeah,
because
and
it's
it's also the
amazing.
technology that's changed, because we've had
Yeah,
so many technology revolutions since Hubble was first launched.
yeah.
It's just amazing. So I'm a huge space and astronomy nerd, and love to kind of explore those topics and educate myself as much as possible on space in general.
When I was a young girl, me and my sister were both space buffs, and my young that would be my middle sister, and
Yeah,
she wanted to be an astronaut so that she could be on the space shuttle.
yeah, that was originally my goal. Was I wanted to be an astronaut. That was my very first career. As a kid, they always ask you fireman, policeman, astronaut, whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an
Back
astronaut.
then, girls don't do astronauts, you know, so
Yep.
she was turned away from that idea.
And originally, you had to be in the Air Force. You had to go through the Air Force
Yeah.
to be an astronaut. And thankfully, they've opened it up to
Yeah.
pretty much every career field now. But I didn't want to have to go through the Air Force in order to get to that. So unfortunately, obviously, I haven't become an astronaut. But
Sometimes, you know, your dreams get squashed by adults who don't know any better or don't care to know any better. And that's what happened with her. You know, her dreams got squashed and she never did it, you
but
know.
but thankfully, I have landed on a path that
That you're happy with.
I didn't get to be an astronaut, and probably won't be able to get to be an astronaut. Who knows? Maybe 50 years from now,
You never know. You might get to go to space like a passenger.
right,
I mean,
right.
you
It's
saw the
entirely
other day where
possible.
these two young women got on there and went
Yeah,
and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So you never
absolutely. Who
know.
knows? I may be
It
a
won't.
space tourist.
Yeah, it probably won't happen in my time. You know, where it's becoming a regular thing. But
Sure.
I think your generation and my daughter's generation and my grandkids' generation, I think they'll have a chance. Maybe.
Absolutely. I'm hoping so, but it's, even though I didn't become an astronaut and probably won't become a career astronaut, I'm still very thankful for the path that I'm on, because this is where I'm supposed to be, and I know
Yep.
that I'm supposed to be there.
Exactly. Okay. So nothing else you want to say?
I think that's good.
Thank you for coming and talking to me and sharing all this stuff about you and your quilting, and I love it. And thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. See everybody later.
Bye, everyone.
I didn't like it last time.
And like last time, it doesn't work for you.
There you go.
You have to touch the wire?
You just
Should
have to
be
have
able to
non-dry hands.
Yeah.
I'm just dead.
Yeah. Have to have moist hands.
Yep. I'm dead.
Moist.
Wow. Well, you really are just dead. You're the only person without any
Those
circulation.
visuals, 'cause they're like harder than stone.
Oh, like these?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, though.